Inside a dim cave, the sharp clink of a pickaxe hitting stone echoes through the darkness. A young man with white hair pauses when he notices faint blue droplets seeping from a crack overhead. His eyes brighten with excitement. He has finally located what he was searching for. Carefully, he holds a bottle beneath the leak to catch the glowing liquid. Realizing the substance is ink, he mutters thanks to the small black cat perched on his shoulder was the reason he found it. As he glances toward the faint light at the cave entrance, he thinks that bringing this ink back might finally earn him acceptance from the pioneering corps. Relieved, he steps outside onto a gray wasteland and gazes at a huge, radiant metropolis far in the distance. Inside that shimmering city, crowds cheer for elite warriors known as Colorists, striding proudly with their brightly colored hair. Two citizens admire them as they pass, talking excitedly about how the team has just defeated another massive creature. To them, as long as the Colorists exist, the brilliant city will remain protected. The scene shifts to the bleak Shadow District. A long line of people waits outside a building where a bulletin board announces the C-Rank Pioneering Corps entrance exam, stating that anyone with color may apply. Suddenly, the white-haired boy is hurled out through the door, landing roughly on the ground. Two examiners stand above him. One of them shouts that people like him don't belong there. Frustrated, the young man gets up and shows them the bottle of blue ink, demanding to know what he did wrong. He insists this ink should prove his worth. The examiner jabs a finger at him and reveals the reason he is being rejected because he is colorless. The man explains that in this world, one's role is fixed from birth, then mocks him for not understanding his position. The red-haired examiner releases a burst of red energy, calling him a useless colorless. The protagonist flinches, groaning as the energy washes over him. From the top of the stairs, the examiner lectures him with an arrogant smile, claiming that only people like himself, chosen ones, can become pioneers. He describes the blacklands outside the city as a place where the weak never survive, a terrifying wilderness consumed by darkness and filled with monsters called creatures. He glorifies the pioneers who enter those lands to gather resources and battle the beasts for humanity, earning the reputation of heroes. Back in the present, the examiner looks down coldly at the boy, saying that such achievements are impossible for someone colorless. He tells him to accept his lowly place and stick to labor work. With a final threat that he will die if he returns, the examiner slams the door shut. Left alone, the boy lowers his gaze as a faint sound comes from his jacket. Nero peeks out nervously. The protagonist strokes the cat gently, saying they will just search for another place. He is used to being rejected anyway. Despite the humiliation, he forces a determined smile and promises Nero that one day he will become the greatest colorist. Quickly, he tucks the cat back inside, worried someone might see him. As he walks through the industrial streets, he wonders where to try next, unaware that someone with green hair is watching him from above. Later, he stands in a crowded plaza checking his notebook. He angrily scratches out yet another location in a book full of crossed-out names. Realizing every place has turned him away, he sighs, drained and discouraged. Finally, he approaches a building marked Mari Workshop, muttering that he has no other choice. He opens the door and calls for the owner. Inside, a white-haired girl with goggles pushes them up and greets him with a bright smile. Mari notices his gloomy expression and immediately guesses he failed another exam. Nero hops onto the table, and she welcomes him warmly. She tries to uplift the protagonist, insisting the examiners are too blind to see his abilities, but he remains disheartened, questioning what use his strength is if no one will accept a colorless applicant. Mari argues that his skill is obvious. He brings back supplies from the dangerous blacklands, something even many colorists can't manage. The boy modestly replies that he only survives because Nero helps him. Changing the topic, he sets the bottle of blue ink on the table and asks if she wants to buy it. Maris' eyes light up as she agrees. She pours the liquid into a pipe system and complains that ink prices have skyrocketed lately due to shortages. The protagonist comments that this scarcity is why people keep calling for more pioneers. The machinery around them shows how dependent their livelihood is on these colorful liquids. Seeing his frustration with failing to join any corps, Mari asks if he ever considered her earlier suggestion. When he hesitates, saying the place she mentioned seemed too, she suddenly slaps a sheet of paper onto the table, insisting he needs to try everything. It is a recruitment flyer for the S-Rank Dawn Pioneering Corps. It states that their entrance test is open to everyone and judged solely on skill. He stares at it in disbelief. He admits he always assumed he would never pass an exam from such a prestigious corps. He wonders if a place like that would ever acknowledge someone like him. Mari encourages him, saying that if the exam is truly skill-based, he has a real chance. She reminds him he has dreamed of becoming a colorist since since he was a child. A flashback shows a lonely, younger version of him holding Nero in the rain. Mari smiles and tells him she will always support him. Her encouragement finally pushes him forward. He grips the flyer firmly, filled with renewed resolve. After waving goodbye to Mari, he leaves the workshop. Walking through the quiet alleys of the Shadow District, he clutches the flyer, thinking he must prepare properly for the test. Suddenly, he freezes as Nero reacts to something behind them. A casual voice asks what is wrong, and a hand holding a wooden wand with a glowing green orb emerges from the darkness. The green-haired man who was spying on him earlier aims his wand, a magical crosshair forming on the boy's back. Without hesitation, he fires a blade of green energy. The protagonist turns in shock, but far too late. The blast slams into him, sending searing pain through his body. As he collapses, the green-haired attacker and his assistant stand over him. The man mocks him, noting that even though he avoided a direct kill shot, he will die soon anyway. Bleeding and unable to move, the boy lies on the cold pavement, while the attacker remarks that no one cares if a colorless person dies. The protagonist weakly calls out to Nero. Seeing the cat trembling inside his jacket, he uses the last of his strength to tell Nero to run. The scene shifts to an industrial area marked as an ink waste disposal site. The boy wakes with a groan, only to see the green-haired man smiling down at him. The man lifts him by the collar, dangling him over a huge vat of black sludge. He taunts him, saying it is unfortunate he is still conscious while being thrown in. The attacker explains the pit contains ink waste, a deadly mixture that dissolves anything, leaving no remains. Panicking, the protagonist begs to know who he is and why he was targeted. The green-haired man reveals that earlier, when they were spying on him, they weren't interested in the boy at all. They were interested in what he was hiding. A flashback shows them noticing the creature tucked inside his clothes. The attacker says that a creature intelligent enough to follow a human is exceptionally rare. He calls Nero a priceless find as he tightens his grip on the boy's throat. Behind him, the assistant lifts a small cage. Inside, Nero cries out, trapped. Horrified, the protagonist screams for them to release the cat. The attacker mocks his desperation, eyes gleaming with greed. He says the creature is too valuable to belong to a colorless master and will be sold on the black market for a fortune. Effortlessly overpowering the boy, he chokes him and hoists him higher, saying such a pet is wasted on someone like him. Hanging helplessly, the protagonist curses himself for letting his guard down in the Shadow District. He thinks back to his lonely past, remembering that he has endured endless discrimination, but he refuses to lose Nero, the only family he has. Fueled by rage, he grabs the attacker's arm and warns him not to push him. The green-haired man suddenly freezes, sensing something strange. His expression changes from smugness to alarm as energy crackles over his face. A swirling green aura flows out of his body and into the boy's hands. He screams in panic, feeling something being drained from him. Terrified, he shakes the boy off and hurls him into the vat of deadly ink waste. Ignoring Nero's cries, the villains claim they are about to become rich and head toward the black market. Sinking deep into the black liquid, the protagonist watches the light fade. Hearing Nero's panicked cries grow distant, he tries to swim but finds his body completely numb. Memories flash through his mind. He wonders if his story ends in this pit. But then he sees a vision of his younger self holding Nero. He realizes he can't give up. He still has a promise to keep. Inside a dark void, a mysterious voice asks him why he remains still. Confused, he demands to know who is speaking. Large text flashes before him, urging him to accept it. Thoughts flood into his mind, pushing him to save Nero and embrace his true color. His face darkens into shadow as the voice orders him to reclaim his power. A hand rises from a swirling mass of black liquid. The protagonist stands silently as a dark tendril fades above him. He looks at his hands, now surrounded by black energy, startled that he is still alive inside the ink. Though his memories are scattered, he focuses on the one thing that matters. Now a shadowy silhouette with glowing white eyes, he wonders what he has become. A faint whimper breaks the silence. Looking up, he sees two blurred figures high above, holding a cage. Inside, Nero cries for him. The sight snaps him into clarity. He must save his companion. As he reaches out with a hand of darkness, a gigantic eruption of black energy bursts upward. The green-haired man and his assistant stagger back, screaming in terror. Staring into the pit, they realize the deadly ink waste has completely disappeared, leaving only a single dark figure standing at the bottom. The entity walks toward them, its presence overwhelming. The green-haired man trembles, eyes wide, as a massive shadow claw descends. He stammers, wondering if this terrifying being is a creature. The aftermath of the explosion leaves the Shadow District in complete ruin. A panicked, elderly man yells at a police officer, swearing that he saw a tiny hand appear out of nowhere, triggering a massive surge of dark energy that devastated the entire area. As the dust settles, medics lift the unconscious green-haired attacker and his assistant onto stretchers. A new team arrives and examines the victims. A red-haired man and a blue-haired woman study the injured pioneers, noting that the B-rank duo duo has lost all traces of color. The blue-haired woman is confused, unable to comprehend what could drain a person's color so completely, but her partner reminds her they should stay focused on their objective. The red-haired man explains that they came because of reports of a huge creature emerging inside the city. The officer on duty is shocked when he realizes he is speaking to a high-ranking colorist. He nervously asks why people of their level are in the Shadow District, and the blue-haired woman calmly replies that they are here to investigate. The red-haired man then asks to be taken to the impact zone, and the intimidated officer leads them there. Standing before the enormous crater, the red-haired man examines the ruined ground. He notices dark smudges among the debris, while his partner confirms the presence of creature traces. She points out how strange it is for something like this to show up inside the city, especially near the outskirts, since normally only minor animals appear within the walls. Peering down into the crater, the red-haired man wonders if they are dealing with a new type of monster. Though he looks uninterested, his expression shows he understands how troublesome it will be to track something that does not follow any known pattern. The scene transitions to a barren area filled with rubble. A faint meow echoes through the shadows. Kay, lying among the debris, groans in pain. He feels a rough tongue brushing his head and awakens to see Nero licking his hair. Overwhelmed with relief, Kay grabs the cat in a tight embrace, grateful that Nero is unharmed, but the pain in his body hits him quickly, making him wince. Kay forces himself upright, dazed, trying to remember what happened. He recalls the men who attacked him and tossed him into the vat, remembering the moment he fell into the toxic black fluid and sank. His eyes widen as he realizes he somehow survived. Staring at his hands in disbelief, he wonders how this is possible. When he touches his head, he feels something off. His formerly white hair has turned pitch black. Clutching his new hair, Kay looks ahead in total confusion, unable to understand why he is alive or why his appearance has changed so drastically. Surrounded by pitch black darkness, he looks around, confused as to why he cannot see anything at all. Desperate, he calls for Nero to help. Responding immediately, the black cat jumps into the air, spinning rapidly and releasing a bright white glow that lights up the surroundings. The sudden illumination reveals a horrifying sight. They are deep inside a cavern swarmed with dark, monstrous creatures. Kay stares in disbelief, struggling to grasp where they have ended up. It hits him with horror. They are in the Blacklands, a deadly region far beyond the city borders. He remembers that this place, the Black Forest, is so dangerous that only B-rank pioneers are allowed to enter. As the monsters begin closing in, Kay panics. He shouts for Nero to follow and bolts away. The glowing cat flies beside him, lighting his escape route. While sprinting for his life, he narrowly evades a massive shadow serpent lunging from the darkness, shouting that the situation is insanely dangerous. Still, he thanks Nero for guiding the way. Speeding through the Black Forest, the two climb rocky ledges to escape the pursuing beasts. Following Nero's shining trail, they leap down a steep vertical drop to gain distance. As Kay continues running, confusion replaces his fear. Something feels off. He notices dark energy pulsing from his chest and realizes his body feels incredible. Even after sprinting for so long, he is not tired at all. With a shocking leap over a huge gap, he realizes he is faster and more agile than he has ever been. Landing solidly, he is stunned by the overwhelming energy flowing through him. Nero reacts first to the incoming danger. His ears twitch as something charges toward them. A wolf-like shadow creature leaps at Kay, catching him by surprise. Kay realizes instantly that his stance is too weak to block it. Accepting his imminent death, he squeezes his eyes shut as the beast's jaws close around his arm. Instead of tearing into him, a loud crack fills the air. The creature's teeth shatter upon impact. Confused, the monster recoils, toothless and whimpering, before retreating into the bushes. Kay opens his eyes and, shocked, examines his unharmed arm. He stares at his hands, realizing a blow like that should have killed him. His eyes widen as the truth clicks. This endurance is the color power he had been searching for all along. Suddenly, a violent tremor shakes the ground. A colossal shape rises from the shadows, towering over them. A giant one-eyed monster climbs into view, radiating menacing power. Kay stares upward in horror. It is a cyclops. As the creature raises a massive arm to crush him, Kay wonders why a predator that normally lives deep in the Black Forest is this close to the outskirts. The cyclops smashes its fist into the ground, debris exploding everywhere and causing Nero to yelp. Kay survives, sitting dazed in the rubble. Though the hit was heavy, a confident grin spreads across his face. He actually has a chance to win. Flashes of his past, childhood loneliness, rejection, and constant beatings run through his mind. He realizes he finally has the strength he longed for and decides this time he will not back down. Dark energy crackles along his arm as he clenches his fist, telling himself he does not have to run anymore. Kay stands firm, tightening his fist as he commits to fighting. Overwhelming memories swell inside him. Focusing on the intense power rising within, he suddenly becomes engulfed in shadow. His body transforms transforms into a being made of pure dark energy, with glowing white eyes. The Cyclops roars and stretches out its enormous hand to crush him, but K rockets off the ground with explosive force. Hurtling forward, he winds up a punch and delivers a strike so powerful it obliterates the monster completely. The impact unleashes a massive shockwave that tears through the forest, clearing everything in its path. K continues soaring through the air, surrounded by the scattered remains of the Cyclops. For a moment he stays in his transformed state, but then his eyes widen as he feels the power fading. The dark energy disperses, and he suddenly finds himself suspended high above a bright, vibrant landscape. He stares in awe at the lush forest and the waterfall beneath him, amazed by the intense colors. Then the power fully vanishes, and his hair turns white again. Real panic hits him. Gravity takes over. He starts falling uncontrollably, screaming as he plummets into the trees and crashes into the forest. Dragging himself out of the wreckage, K sees Nero hovering nearby, worried. K collapses, gasping, while the dark energy surrounding him evaporates like smoke. Horror fills him as he realizes his color is draining rapidly. The terrifying truth hits him. Using this overwhelming ability too much drains it at an extreme rate, leaving him vulnerable. Suddenly, everything goes pitch black. A mysterious voice echoes in his mind, asking what he is waiting for. The voice orders him to act, insisting the prey is right in front of him and urging him to devour it. K's gaze shifts to the Cyclops remains scattered around him. The voice continues manipulating him, asking if he wants to survive and telling him to simply reach out. Barely conscious, drenched in sweat, he struggles to resist. His eyes faintly glow as he clings to life. Finally, trembling, he gives in and reaches toward the monster's corpse. Placing his hand on the Cyclops carcass, a dark technique activates instantly. K begins absorbing the lingering shadow energy from the beast's body. Nero watches in stunned disbelief as his owner performs this horrifying act. A pillar of black light erupts from the forest, shooting into the sky as K consumes the energy completely. When the light fades, K is left breathing heavily, the exhaustion slowly receding. Leaning against a rock, his hair once again black, he feels his strength returning. Looking up at the sky, he lets out a relieved sigh. He is going to survive. Back at the Mari workshop, the atmosphere is calm and quiet. Inside, Mari is focused on a blueprint when the door chime suddenly rings, drawing her attention. She looks up and sees a mysterious figure in a tattered cloak standing at the entrance. Trying her best to remain polite, she greets the stranger with a shaky smile, even though her hands are already trembling. She asks whether they need something made, but the hooded person does not reply. He only stands there radiating an ominous aura. He takes a heavy step toward her, causing Maris' nerves to spike. She instinctively calls him out, saying he looks suspicious. When he keeps approaching, she panics, snatches up a large wrench and warns that she will swing it if he moves any closer. The cloaked figure suddenly rushes toward her, making Mari scream and squeeze her eyes shut. But instead of attacking, the intruder stops and pulls off his hood, revealing a familiar face. He tells her to calm down. It is K. He scratches his head awkwardly, explaining that it is really him, though he admits even he barely recognizes himself now. Mari lowers her guard, instantly staring in shock. She stutters, unable to comprehend the drastic change in his appearance. Her scream echoes outside as she demands to know what happened to him. Still shaking, Mari holds a metal pipe defensively, but her fear abruptly transforms into fury. She grabs a hammer and a wrench, shouting that she cannot forgive whoever harmed him. She swings the tools wildly, yelling that she will smash their heads, while K tries frantically to calm her, assuring her he is not hurt. When she finally realizes it is truly him, Mari slowly lowers the wrench. She admits she panicked because she lost contact with him and was terrified something terrible had happened. Her expression softens with relief as she tells K she is glad he is safe. K apologizes for making her worry so much. Internally, K thinks about how absurd everything has become. Falling into toxic ink and somehow gaining a color feels unbelievable. Out loud, he confesses a concern. His color turned out to be black, the same one associated with creatures, and he wonders whether people will judge him because of it. But he quickly shakes off the thought, deciding that the important thing is that he finally has the chance to become a colorist. He announces that he is heading to the Pioneering Corps entrance exam immediately and thanks Mari for helping him. Then, looking embarrassed, he asks if he can borrow some clothes, promising he will return them. Mari sighs, asking how many times he plans to beg. Still, she smiles and tells him to think of it as an investment in his future as a colorist. Without warning, she grabs his hand and pulls him along, telling him to follow her. Kay blinks in surprise as she excitedly claims she has the perfect gear prepared for him. The scene shifts to a massive Colosseum-shaped building where countless aspiring pioneers climb the stairs. Inside, hundreds of candidates gather on the arena floor, which is marked with large white square platforms for the exam. Among them, a group of 3 men talk nervously. One with blue hair and the number 183 tries to calm his worried friend, The pink-haired man struggles to believe they have come this far. They are about to take the test to join the Dawn Pioneering Corps, an S-rank group renowned for exploring the dangerous Blacklands. These elite colorists are seen as the greatest hope of the shining city. However, the candidates are on edge because many strong participants have gathered. They spot a turquoise-haired girl, rumored to be the daughter of a distinguished color family, standing beside a man wearing a beanie. They notice other rising talents as well, such as a boy with pink hair and goggles and a man with a gas mask. Even so, one person draws the most attention. Their eyes drift toward a young man with wild green hair and fierce eyes. It is Gale the Gale Sword. Everyone expects him to pass with ease. Rumors claim he is strong enough to fend off dangerous creatures by himself. At the same time, he is known for his brutal temperament, which reportedly got him expelled from his previous corps. Number 183 grins arrogantly, saying he is not scared of someone like Gale. Immediately, a shadow falls over him. Gale is standing right behind him, daring him to repeat his words. The blue-haired man freezes in terror. Gale glares at them with contempt, calling them pathetic brats, then walks off with a disappointed sigh. He complains that for an S-rank exam the competitors are incredibly weak. As he scans the crowd, he mentally dismisses everyone, believing no one stands out. His gaze stops when he sees the turquoise-haired girl. He recognizes her as Ellie Cyan, the second daughter of the Cyan family. Gale smirks, admitting she is at least worth noticing. Imagining the crowd inside his palm, he wonders how they will react to the trial ahead. A mechanical speaker crackles alive, gaining everyone's attention. Gale and Ellie turn toward the stage as a voice announces that the Dawn Pioneering Corps entrance exam is officially beginning. On the stage stands a man with bright blonde hair and yellow eyes. When he proclaims that the exam has started, the crowd erupts in shock. They recognize him as a famous colorist from the corps, a hero who played a major role in a recent creature hunt. If an elite colorist like him has appeared, the corps must be extremely serious about this recruitment. The overwhelming pressure from him reminds everyone how powerful S-rank members truly are. The examiner greets the crowd, thanking them for applying and acknowledging that everyone has their own motives, whether wealth, strength, honor, or duty. But he states coldly that none of those reasons matter. His eyes gleam as he explains that ultimately only true skill leads to achievement. They are searching for people strong enough to venture into the Blacklands and reclaim lost territory. He tells them to look around, saying that mediocrity is not welcome here, and announces that the exam will begin immediately. He points to the white square platforms and explains that the first test is a tournament. Combat ability, he says, is the most essential skill for a pioneer, because the outside world is merciless and only the strongest survive. Clenching his fist, he orders them to prove themselves. Those who move on will be chosen by the tournament results. He instructs the candidates to step forward when their numbers are called. The examiner calls numbers 126 and 286. Gale, number 126, steps forward with a focused expression. The crowd murmurs, calling him a powerhouse and feeling sorry for whoever must face him. Gale forms a sinister grin, thinking he is fortunate to have something entertaining to start with, since he was dying of boredom. His eyes sharpen as he wonders how he should play with his opponent. He notices a strange individual approaching the stage. A cloaked figure wearing the number 286 stands opposite him. Gale studies him and decides the stranger's posture looks clumsy and weak. Gripping his weapon, Gale decides talking is pointless. He draws his sword with a sharp ring, declaring he is finished, staying silent. With a burst of power, Gale swings his blade, sending enormous streams of green wind slashing across the arena. Spectators watch in amazement as glowing green swords materialize in the air. It is his signature technique, the Gale Sword. People whisper in admiration, impressed that someone his age can wield such advanced swordsmanship. Gale glares at his opponent, challenging him to try blocking the attack. He stomps the ground, building momentum, before launching forward like a tempest, threatening to slice his opponent apart if he fails to defend. The hooded figure remains completely still, not flinching despite the incoming strike. As Gale descends to deliver his blow, the cloaked stranger steps in and lands a crushing left hook directly to Gale's face. The impact launches Gale across the arena. The men who boasted earlier scream in horror at the unbelievable scene. Gale crashes into the arena wall with such force that it bursts into spiderweb-shaped cracks. He collapses unconscious, defeated in one hit. The entire crowd erupts in confusion, unable to understand how such a thing could even happen. The hood of the cloaked figure falls back, revealing K. He rubs his wrist, remarking that even he was startled by his own sudden acceleration. His messy black hair is now visible. Still trying to process the chaotic moment, he stands silently. Suddenly, a spectator points at him, shaking, not because of the blow he delivered, but because of the color of his energy, black. The blonde examiner watches with a serious expression, noting to himself that black is the same color possessed by creatures. Ellie Kane is stunned, wondering how a human could possibly wield that color. Kay stands alone in the arena, unaware of the heavy implications. The crowd murmurs, questioning whether the strength to defeat Gale in a single punch came from that mysterious black energy. Kay glances around at the shocked audience, confused by their reaction. Innocently, he wonders if he did something wrong. The tournament presses on with fierce clashes. In one match, a panicked candidate hurls razor-sharp stones, but Kay rushes straight at him, dodging every attack with ease. He closes in instantly and lands a crushing punch that sends the magic user skidding across the arena. The announcer declares Kay the victor. His winning streak only grows from there, as he brutally overpowers more opponents, slamming one into the ground and knocking another unconscious. High above, the blonde examiner watches with keen interest, stating that Kay is clearly the standout participant. Excitedly, he points out that Kay is the first person ever to possess black color, and insists they must recruit him before word spreads. Suddenly, heavy footsteps echo behind him, and a relaxed voice comments that it seems like a busy day. The examiner turns and is startled to see the same red-haired man and blue-haired woman from the explosion scene. When the examiner asks why team leader Red is here, the man casually waves him off, saying they are simply passing through. They briefly discuss the ongoing investigation into the giant creature incident. Red sighs, admitting they still have not found any leads. He then asks if any promising applicants have appeared. The examiner mentions the young woman from the Cyan family and a particularly unusual candidate. At that moment, Red's eyes sharpen as he senses something. He looks down at the arena and spots Kay, immediately recognizing the black energy swirling around him. While the examiner praises Kay, Red silently studies the boy. The blue-haired woman leans in and quietly asks if the kid might be related to their case. Red replies that it is very likely. Internally, he concludes that a new color manifesting right after the Shadow District incident is far too suspicious to dismiss. He decides to keep Kay under close watch. Kay, unaware of the attention, looks at his fist, which is still releasing dark smoke. Thrilled by his newfound strength, he realizes that becoming a pioneer might finally be within reach. But he quickly recalls how badly the transformation injured him and warns himself not to push too far. If he uses too much of his power, and his color disappears mid-battle, he will be defenseless. A sudden blast of freezing magic erupts from the arena, forming a massive wall of ice. Ellie Scion stands calmly at the center of the frosty haze. The announcer calls number 17 as the winner, revealing that she has frozen her opponent solid inside a block of ice. Spectators, including Kay, watch in wonder, noting how impressive the Cyan family's color always is. As Ellie descends the steps, Kay cannot help but marvel at her power, wondering how anyone could triumph against such overwhelming magic. Just then, Ellie pauses beside him, staring directly at him with a sharp, evaluating look. Her blue eyes narrow, studying him intently before she turns away without a word, leaving Kay bewildered. The announcer then proclaims the end of the first exam. The blonde examiner steps up to the podium, thanking everyone for their effort. Since they are behind schedule, he announces they will proceed straight to the next test. He dismisses the failed candidates, who leave with heavy hearts. As he begins to explain the second exam, a hand suddenly grabs his shoulder. The red-haired man steps forward with a confident grin and interrupts him. Facing the remaining applicants, he announces that he will personally oversee the next stage. Shock ripples through the crowd as they recognize him. Colorist Red, one of the Shining City's strongest, renowned for reclaiming the Blacklands. Fear spreads among the candidates as they remember the rumors about his devastating abilities and the fact that no one ever passes when he is the proctor. The blonde examiner nervously questions Red, warning that the captain will scold him for changing the format. Red simply laughs, saying he gets nagged daily anyway. He tells the candidates that the test is simple. Just endure. Flames erupt from his body, spreading outward in a massive wave. Each applicant is sealed inside an individual sphere of fire. Panic breaks out as the candidates feel the overwhelming heat. Red explains that he recreated the conditions of a certain region and that the temperature will climb rapidly. He adds that the Blacklands are filled with extreme environments where ordinary humans cannot survive. Compared to that, he claims, this heat is nothing more than a warm stove. With a stern expression, he repeats that endurance equals passing, but if they cannot withstand this, they never had what it takes to be pioneers in the first place. Inside the blazing spheres, the candidates struggle. One man frantically scratches at the barrier, realizing he cannot damage it. Others scream in agony, horrified by the idea that this is considered mild compared to the Blacklands. Watching from the side, the blonde examiner notes that Red's control has not weakened at all. He is amazed by how easily Red enclosed so many people at once, acknowledging that this is the kind of power expected from someone near the top. Suddenly, a sharp cracking sound echoes across the arena. Red and his assistant turn to see one of the fire spheres glowing blue and splitting apart. A burst of ice energy erupts outward, shattering the burning barrier. Ellie Cyan stands amidst the falling frost, completely unharmed. Red looks at her and admits she is impressive. He reflects that the Cyan family's color naturally counters his, yet his flames are usually strong enough to overpower that advantage. As he observes her, he concludes that she may truly be a prodigy. He then wonders about the other candidate they were tracking. K appears motionless in his fire sphere. Red studies him, noting that unlike the girl, he shows no sign of breaking out. He assumed the boy was not worth much, but inside the barrier, K is freaking out. He realizes he overused his color during the fight with the Gale sword. He looks at his hand in horror as his black energy leaks away, draining even faster in the extreme heat. K imagines the worst possible outcome, his power disappearing, revealing that he is colorless, leading to him becoming a test subject. Desperate, he searches for a way to regain his strength. His eyes settle on the fiery wall surrounding him. A sudden thought hits him. Since the barrier is created from a color ability, could he absorb it? He looks at his hand, uncertain of the limits of his power but aware he has no time left. He decides to take the risk. Touching the swirling flames, he feels an explosive reaction. He is shocked that it actually works. The fire begins to distort and spiral toward him, catching the attention of nearby candidates. A massive storm of black energy bursts from K, devouring the red flames. On the podium, Red and the blonde examiner freeze in disbelief, unable to process what they are witnessing. Sweat runs down Red's forehead as he forces a shaky smile, muttering that they have found a real madman. When the vortex fades, K stands in the arena surrounded by remnants of swirling red and black energy. The entire arena falls silent. Inside, though, K is panicking again. He puts on a strained smile, realizing this outcome was never part of his plan. Ellie Cyan stands frozen in place, wondering if she is hallucinating. As she looks at the young man surrounded by dark energy, she glances at K and questions whether black is even a color a human should be able to manifest. Realizing she is witnessing something unprecedented, a wave of unease runs through her. Memories of the pressure to be the best flicker in her mind, and for the first time she is forced to acknowledge that K's strength is undeniable. Even at her peak she knows she could not confidently defeat him. As K walks away, Ellie senses that there is something about him that cannot be explained by strength alone. She asks herself what he truly is. She quickly shakes the thought away, trying to clear her mind. At that moment, Colorist Red strolls up to K and casually drapes an arm around his shoulder, telling him that next time will not go the same way. Red grins as he comments on how wild the black ability was and admits he cannot resist his curiosity. He leads K away, insisting they talk privately so he can ask questions without exposing K. K, sweating nervously, asks about his exam result. Red assures him that with a power level like that there is no doubt he passes. K is stunned, realizing that drawing so much attention actually worked in his favor. Emotion rises in him as he thinks he has finally achieved his dream of becoming a pioneer. Suddenly, the blonde examiner shouts at Red for acting on his own. Red laughs and asks him to let it slide just this once. The examiner sighs and announces that despite the interruption, the exam will continue. He states that number 17 Ellie passed for breaking the barrier, while the remaining candidates will face an additional test. Ellie ignores the announcement, her eyes fixed on the dark tunnel where Red is taking K. The scene shifts to an industrial area. Red stands outside a car with K, while a blue-haired investigator waits in the driver's seat. Red tells her to hold on. As K scans the surroundings, his expression turns to complete shock. He stares at the massive stretch of rubble and destruction, realizing with horror that Red has brought him back to the exact location where he fell into the ink waste. Red looks over the ruined district, calling it an ugly scene, and calmly explains that a major incident occurred here, making K tense up. Red explains that for the first time in history, 2 pioneers were discovered completely drained of their colors. He adds that witnesses claimed to have seen a massive creature at the site. Red suddenly turns toward K, pointing out how suspicious the timing is. He mentions that soon after that creature appeared, K emerged as the first person to manifest the color black, calling it quite the coincidence. With glowing eyes, Red analyzes K's power, describing it as an ability that absorbs other colors. K sweats nervously as Red continues staring at him and insists that this ability is entirely foreign. Inside, K panics, realizing Red suspected something from the beginning. He wonders if he should run, but the overwhelming aura surrounding the man tells him that escaping a hero is impossible. Then Red suddenly laughs, breaking the tension, and waves his hand, saying he was only testing K, and that K's honest reaction ruined the fun. K is left confused. Red goes on to explain that although his official duty is to investigate the incident. His personal interest is K's mysterious ability. He notes that color powers are never supposed to mix, yet K's ability breaks that rule entirely. Thinking back to the second exam, he points out that K clearly lacked control over his power. K tries to explain, but Red interrupts him. The colorist's body begins to glow with red energy as he announces that they need to run a test. K looks bewildered. Red extends his hand, saying he wants to understand how the ability functions. With confidence, he challenges K to try absorbing his energy right now. K panics and tries to refuse, warning Red that it is too dangerous. Red simply laughs louder, telling the rookie that he is far from strong enough to injure someone at his level. K falls silent, tense, and uncertain as Red orders him to stop talking and attempt the absorption. Black represents the blacklands, a terrifying force that devours anything in its path. Red believes that leaving such a dangerous ability unchecked is unacceptable, because it could threaten the Shining City. A hidden thought crosses his mind. The public does not yet know, but humanoid creatures exist. He silently considers that if K ever encounters one, or becomes one, he may be forced to eliminate him. K exhales shakily, feeling the crushing pressure radiating from Red. Despite his fear, he agrees to the test. He grasps Red's wrist, nervously asking if it will not be his fault if anything goes wrong. Dark energy rises from him, and the moment their skin touches, a shock wave bends the air. K gasps as red energy violently surges into his arm, clashing with his own black aura. He instantly realizes he has made a terrible decision. A huge explosion of flames erupts from the point of contact, making K scream in agony. Inside the burning inferno, he begs Red to stop, admitting that he cannot control the power, and that it feels like molten lava is flowing through him. In his chaotic vision, Red appears like a towering god made of fire, reminding him why the man is considered a hero. Red stands calmly in the flames, observing. He notes that K's black energy is devouring his power endlessly, as if starving. He realizes that because K's ability is still undeveloped, powerful individuals can resist the absorption, while ordinary people would die instantly. As the flames twist around them, Red's eyes narrow with deeper curiosity. He concludes that what they saw during the exam is only a fragment of K's potential. He wants to know not only how K absorbs colors, but how he uses them afterward. The reaction between their energies intensifies. Red watches as K's black aura begins to warp and form spikes mixing with the red energy. Suddenly, a massive blast of red and black erupts outward. Red is pushed back and stares in shock at the figure emerging from the smoke. K has partially transformed. The right half of his body is covered in jagged demonic armor made of red and black energy. Red clenches his teeth, recognizing the form instantly. As he sees the monstrous claw and glowing eye, he admits that anyone would think they were looking at a creature. The resemblance confirms his suspicion, and he realizes without a doubt that K was connected to the incident where the pioneers lost their colors. K struggles to stay conscious. Red decides he must contain him before he goes berserk. He summons a sphere of flame ready to subdue him, but K lets out a low growl, forcing Red to hesitate. The boy seems to be fighting something internal. The scene shifts to K's inner world, a pitch-black void filled with burning red text. The voices of the powers scream at him, demanding color and urging him to bring more. K gasps in reality, overwhelmed by the intrusive noise. The voices continue tempting him, telling him it is pointless to resist and that he should take everything. K mentally shouts at them to be silent. With fierce will, his remaining eye glows red as he forces himself to push back. He orders the chaotic power to stay crushed. A shock wave bursts outward as he compresses the energy by sheer determination. The demonic armor shatters and vanishes, leaving Red genuinely stunned. K collapses, panting heavily. Red looks at him, amazed, asking if he really managed to suppress such immense power on his own. K's heart races as he tries to understand how he survived. He panics, wondering why he went berserk, and fears the worst after losing control in front of a colorist. Knowing he needs to understand himself, he approaches Red nervously, but Red looks thrilled. He admits he misjudged the strength of the power K absorbed, but happily declares the experiment a success because it was entertaining. He tells K that to accomplish anything he must take risks. Red says the test is over, but then pauses. He reminds K that he is the investigator responsible for this very incident, and that his duty is to identify the culprit. With a calm yet threatening smile, he states that K looks like a perfect suspect. K freezes, his face draining of color. Red explains the situation in detail. He retells how witnesses saw a massive shadow creature and warns K that far more people are interested in this case than he realizes. He adds that once news spreads about his black ability, it will be easy for authorities to blame him. He gestures at the devastated district, pointing out that the damages cost hundreds of millions. He adds that if the city leadership deems him dangerous, he could be exiled or turned into a test subject. K clenches his teeth, realizing he has no way to defend defend himself. Then Red offers him a way out. He suggests that if K agrees to serve under him, he might be able to help. Without hesitation, K bows at 90 degrees and declares that he places himself in Red's care. Red tells him to listen first. He explains he will not fix everything for free. In exchange, K will have to repay him with a few favors. He asks if K can handle that. K forces a trembling, desperate smile. Inside, he thinks that anything is better than owing millions or becoming an experiment. Aloud, he agrees, instantly promising to do anything Red requests. In the desolate wasteland, a small creature trembles with fear just moments before a massive wheel crashes down, narrowly missing it as a heavy vehicle roars past. A large armored transport truck rumbles through the foggy, rugged terrain of the Blacklands. Inside, K gazes out the window, reflecting that this is the first time he has traveled this far and wondering if this marks his first real step as a pioneer. His thoughts are abruptly interrupted by Gale, a green-haired man who glares at him and addresses him as black-haired one. Gale rudely claims K is being distracting and orders him to stay silent, even though K has not spoken. K stares back, clearly confused. K sits awkwardly in the transport bay. He thought starting immediately as a pioneer was exactly what he wanted, yet the tense atmosphere makes him uneasy. He glances at the furious Gale and the silent Ellie sign, questioning if being on the same team was the right choice. A flashback shows a conversation from the previous day. Red asks a surprised K if he is ready to join the exploration, explaining that he needs him to reach a specific location in the uncharted area. Seeing K's nervous look, Red laughs and tells him not to worry. He shows K a map, assuring him he will not be alone. Red explains that new recruits who pass the exam will also be deployed to the area and that the official route map will be announced soon. K simply needs to arrive at the designated location on time. Back in the present, K observes his teammates, noting that they were already on the truck. It becomes clear that Red's interference had compromised the previous exam, giving participants a second chance. Many highly skilled individuals, including Gale, passed strict additional tests. Meanwhile, Ellie Sion, the top-ranked rookie, joined Red's team at her own specific request. Gale stares at K with intense resentment, unable to believe he had been humiliated by someone he considered a fool. He recalls their fight, convinced his loss came from a momentary lapse in guard, and vows it will not happen again. He threatens K, warning him to be ready once the exploration concludes. He mutters that if Raven had not been behind him, K would already be dead. Ellie Sion interrupts coldly, telling Gale to stop speaking and mocking him, suggesting he would probably be defeated in a single blow again. Gale turns to her, furious, asking what she meant. Ellie dismisses him, asserting that Gale is no match for K. K looks at her with a mix of surprise and hope, thinking maybe she is someone he can relate to. Yet Ellie redirects her cold gaze at him, confusing K by mentioning a past agreement they supposedly made. She glares, stating that the loser must stay silent and follow orders, leaving K bewildered. K stands uneasily between the two hostile pioneers, feeling the tension, and sighs, realizing managing this team will be no easy task. The scene shifts as the transport vehicle moves across the dark waters of the wasteland toward a distant facility. It arrives at a busy loading dock, with workers hustling supplies. The group disembarks. K, Ellie, Gale, and the other recruits walk into the forward base of the Dawn Pioneering Corps. K is amazed by the level of activity, noticing the S-rank Corps' exceptional supplies, something he had not realized during his solo ventures in the Blacklands. Suddenly, a finger pokes K's cheek, startling him. He turns to see a smiling Mari, cheerfully explaining that since this is his first mission, she had to accompany him for support. Mari opens her jacket, revealing that Nero has come along. K holds the black cat, thanking Mari for taking care of him. She smiles warmly, saying Nero is family. She explains that she got an excellent opportunity to join the exploration team as support staff, highlighting her useful skills. A loudspeaker announces assembly time. The crowd of pioneers gathers in the gray wasteland as the announcement continues that they will soon enter the Blacklands. K hands Nero over to Mari, asking her to look after him. Mari warns him not to do anything reckless, and he smiles, promising to see her later. Mari hugs Nero, but the cat suddenly leaps from her arms, startling her. She shouts Nero's name as he runs toward K and disappears into a shadow on the ground. Mari's eyes widen at this unnatural movement. She stammers, trying to call out to K, confused. The group reaches a dark, fortified cave entrance. A woman with bright orange hair and a white coat stands at the front, shouting for everyone to prepare, announcing that a new recruit is about to enter the Blacklands. She emphasizes that safety is the top priority, warning that reconnaissance has reported unidentified dangerous creatures in Area 21, a very hazardous zone where an A-rank creature's body was discovered. Suddenly, a male pioneer rushes to the orange-haired woman, calling her Aranzia. He nervously reports that the red team leader brought the new recruits, but they left their formation without permission. Aranzia's eyes widen, and she asks if it is true. The messenger confirms confirms it, and Aranja sighs, remarking that the same troublemaker is at it again. The group discreetly enters a dark canyon, moving away from the main army. Red reaches his hand into the shadows, guiding the way. The small squad K, Gale, Ellie, and Red splits from the formation. K nervously asks the team leader if this is acceptable, pointing out that the main team is heading elsewhere. Red confirms their destination differs. K glances back at Gale and Ellie, worried because the squad consists entirely of new recruits. Gale suddenly snaps, demanding to know why he and Ellie must follow, shouting that he heard Red only intended to take K, and feels insulted. Red smiles, his red aura flaring, and explains that his personal guidance is not something everyone can receive, so it would not be fair if only K benefited. He reassures the angry Gale that while he will not feed them, he also will not allow them to get seriously hurt. He ends the conversation, ordering the group to move out. K's eyes widen as they encounter enemies. Deep inside a cavern, they are surrounded by shadow creatures. While Red holds a lantern, K, Gale, and Ellie engage in a chaotic melee. A massive wolf-like beast lunges from the darkness. Ellie Cyan reacts instantly, her blue energy sword piercing the creature's body. She lands gracefully, realizing this is the harsh reality of the Blacklands. Surrounded by glowing eyes, she notes the suffocating atmosphere and waves of monsters, acknowledging that it is different from training. She grips her sword, resolving to manage her strength carefully. Ellie glances over her shoulder, thinking she needs to move more efficiently. She looks at K, silently telling herself she does not want to fall behind him. Meanwhile, K grabs a shadow creature by the neck and crushes it brutally with his bare hands. Ellie Cyan looks at him in total shock. She asks why he is not using a dropper. K hesitates, recalling the entry exam, and admits he does not have one. He explains they are too expensive and that he feels fine fighting without it, leaving Ellie staring in disbelief. Gale is flabbergasted, shouting that it makes no sense for a pioneer to have never used one. A dropper is essential for pioneers, used to infuse weapons with color energy to combat creatures. Properly hunting these monsters requires using a dropper to color them. The group stares at K standing over the defeated enemies, questioning how he managed to defeat them bare-handed without the essential tool. Gale's hand trembles as he grips his weapon. Realizing the gap in abilities, he recalls the humiliation of the exam. Unable to even scratch someone without a dropper, Gale grits his teeth in frustration. He glares at K's back, swearing he will crush him with his own hands one day. As they continue deeper into the cave, Red leads the way with a lantern while Gale follows, seething with anger. Red glances back at his squad with a smirk, thinking it is not bad to see two geniuses being motivated by a rookie. He smiles, believing things are only going to get more interesting. Cheerfully, he urges the group to give a bit more effort, noting they are almost there and suggesting they finish quickly so they can have a party. After the battle against the shadow beasts, the bodies of the wolf-like creatures lay scattered across the ground. Colorist Red called for a 10-minute break, but warned the group, Gale, K, and Ellie Cyan, that the real mission had yet to begin. Gale sighed, complaining that he had exhausted a significant amount of his color energy. He retrieved a small bottle of glowing green liquid. As Gale drank it, K recognized it as personal ink, a specially refined alchemical substance, essential but rare, used by pioneers to restore their color. Since it must be crafted to match the user's unique hue, it comes at a steep price. K watched with envy as Gale and Ellie consumed their custom inks. Wishing he could afford such luxuries, he quickly pushed the thought aside. Walking a short distance from the group, K reached toward the corpse of a defeated shadow creature. A massive swirl of dark energy erupted from it as he activated his ability, absorbing the shadow directly into his hand. The black energy flowed into him. K clenched his fist, fully restored, and declared that he was ready again. Turning to his teammates, he saw their faces filled with horror and disbelief. Ellie hesitantly asked if he was truly okay. K waved off their concerns, explaining he had done this a few times before. Gale shouted in shock, unable to believe that K had absorbed a monster without flinching. Before the conversation could continue, Red interrupted, declaring the break over. The group moved deeper into the canyon until Red announced their arrival. Ahead, a massive swirling dome of pure black energy blocked the path. K stared, muttering that it resembled a black curtain. Red smiled at K's stunned expression and revealed that this dark barrier was exactly why he had brought K along. To demonstrate, Red conjured a ball of red energy and unleashed a powerful beam at the black dome. The energy struck the surface, but was immediately absorbed by the darkness instead of breaking through. Red explained that any attempt to force the barrier would only strengthen it. He noted its similarity to K's own power, which made him confident that K would be the only one capable of dissolving it. Red gestured toward the dark wall, revealing that the path to the ruins lay beyond it. He announced that their true objective, the Stella fragment, was hidden inside. K's eyes widened in shock. The other recruits looked confused. Gale asked what Stella was, and Ellie admitted she had never heard of it. Red assured them it existed, and that the Shining City was desperate to recover it. He pointed at K, ordering him to eliminate the curtain. Stepping forward, K approached the towering wall of darkness. As soon as he touched it, his absorption ability activated, and the barrier's black energy surged violently into his hand. A massive vortex formed as the dome was consumed. Red, Gale, and Ellie watched in awe as the obstacle vanished. Red's grin widened. His theory had been correct. With the barrier gone, he told Kay that his power would prove extremely useful. However, Kay looked uneasy, sweating and trembling under the strain of controlling the immense energy. Suddenly, the ground shook violently. Gale and Ellie panicked as the tremors intensified, realizing the noise would attract hordes of deadly creatures. Echoing through the canyon, the disturbance summoned a horde of black wolf-like monsters from the cliffs. The group found themselves surrounded. Ellie and Gale drew their weapons, while Red laughed at the large crowd that had gathered to greet them. Red ordered the team to handle the creatures, while Kay continued focusing on removing the curtain. With a cold expression, he commanded his squad to annihilate every monster. Gale and Ellie sprang into action. Gale moved with incredible speed, slicing through the shadow creatures with wind-infused attacks. Ellie summoned massive ice spikes from the ground, impaling multiple enemies at once. As the two recruits fought fiercely, Red observed them, noting he was ready to intervene if necessary, but found no need. Effortlessly, he conjured orbs of red energy and fired them in precise beams, piercing the remaining beasts. Though they were new recruits, Red thought their skill was impressive. Meanwhile, Kay continued absorbing the massive barrier, drenched in sweat. Red smiled, pleased that his subordinates were doing the hard work for him. Kneeling, Kay realized the curtain's energy felt strangely similar to his own. He suspected it was because they shared the same black attribute, and he understood the danger. If he lost focus, the curtain's energy could reverse, stealing his color instead. Kay gritted his teeth, determined not to be overpowered, declaring he was stronger. With one final effort, the absorption completed. Standing at the edge of the path, panting heavily, he confirmed that he had absorbed everything. He looked down at what had been hidden behind the barrier and was shocked to see a massive, black pit with no visible bottom. Could this terrifying abyss be the entrance to the ruins? Having finished his task, he turned to report to the team leader that the curtain had been successfully removed. Red praised Kay for a job well done and called to the team, announcing the barrier was down and ordering them to finish cleaning up. Suddenly, Red's expression shifted to one of pure shock as he sensed imminent danger. Moving with blinding speed, he grabbed both Ellie and Gale, pulling them back. Moments later, a massive invisible energy slash tore through the air, carving deep gouges into the ground where they had been standing. The attack shredded the remaining shadow monsters. Debris rained down as Red, Ellie, and Gale landed safely on a higher slope. Gale stared in horror, realizing he would have been killed instantly without Red's intervention. Red's face grew grim. The lack of resistance earlier had been because something else had been scaring the monsters away. He recalled reports of a dangerous entity lurking nearby. Through the dust, a silhouette approached, dragging a massive sword. Red muttered that there was no time to fool around. The attacker stepped into view, a man with spiky hair, half white and half black, a dark mask, like growth covering part of his face, and a collection of weapons strapped to his back. His terrifying aura sent chills down the pioneers' spines. Red positioned himself between his team and the stranger, ordering Kay and the others to pay attention. Frantically, he shoved a lantern into Kay's hands, instructing them to enter the ruins immediately and retrieve the Stella fragment. Kay's eyes widened with anxiety. He asked if Red expected them to descend alone. Red assured him they were more than capable, but did not wait for their response. With a sudden burst of force, he pushed Kay, Ellie, and Gale toward the dark abyss, shouting at them to stop complaining and go. Kay screamed Red's name as the three recruits plummeted into the pit. Alone, Red stood at the edge, red aura glowing, as the voice of a recruit echoed from below, questioning what they were supposed to do. Behind Red, the menacing figure loomed, and the two powerful opponents locked eyes, knowing a fierce battle was about to begin. The scene shifted to the pitch black bottom of the abyss. Kay lay motionless after the long fall. Groaning in pain and clutching his head, he struggled to rise in the suffocating darkness. Remembering the lantern Red had given him, he activated it, hoping he was inside the ruins. The light flared to life, revealing the area. Kay's expression shifted instantly to absolute terror. He froze, asking himself what this place was. Instead of ancient stone ruins, the lantern illuminated skeletal remains of massive modern skyscrapers and concrete debris, looking exactly like a destroyed, modern city buried underground. Kay stands on a ledge, holding up his lantern to push back the darkness. The sight before him leaves him speechless. Enormous ruins of an underground city stretching far into the shadows. He can hardly believe a place like this could exist, though he grumbles that he still cannot see anything properly. Just then, a voice calls out, telling him to stop complaining and come toward the light. Kay is relieved when he spots his teammates Gale and Ellie, admitting he was terrified they had been separated. Gale immediately blames Kay for making them wander aimlessly, but Ellie snaps back, reminding him he was just as lost. Staring at the vast, shattered metropolis, Gale wonders aloud what this place could be. Anxiety rises as he points out how ridiculous it is to search for a stellar fragment in an endless maze of ruins, especially when they have no idea what it even looks like. Kay agrees, noting that searching blindly would take forever. Deep down, Kay wishes Nero were here. As if answering that thought, a faint glow appears, and he freezes when he sees the small black cat Nero standing at his feet. Panicking, Kay wonders how the creature managed to follow them. Ellie notices and asks if it is some kind of beast. Kay breaks into a cold sweat, realizing his secret pet has been exposed. But he quickly pulls himself together, deciding he can use this moment to prove the cat's usefulness. He calls Gale and Ellie over. With Nero in his hands, Kay gives a confident smile and announces he has a way to find the Stella fragment easily. The others gather around as Kay explains that the little creature he raised will guide them to the target. Gale immediately yells, refusing to believe any of it. While Gale goes on and on, Ellie pays him no attention at all, completely enchanted by the adorable cat. Wanting to demonstrate Nero's abilities, Kay prepares to show them. The black cat lets out a cry from Ellie's arms, then suddenly leaps out, startling her. In midair, Nero transforms into a swirling mass of energy. A brilliant light erupts, flooding the ruins with illumination and leaving the group stunned. The glowing sphere shoots forward, forming a bright trail for them to follow. The three pioneers hurry after it. Along the way, Gale expresses his disbelief, demanding to know how a creature can be that smart or possess such a unique power. He also presses Kay about where he even found it. Kay ignores him completely and simply reads Nero's movements, telling the others the cat is saying the Stella fragment is just ahead. The creature suddenly detects a trail and darts off at high speed. The ribbon of light twists through the ruined city until they reach a massive concrete complex. A dark tunnel yawns before them, and Kay wonders how much deeper they still need to go. Gale mocks him, asking if he is scared. Kay fires back and declares they are going inside. They walk down a huge, high-ceiling corridor with Nero lighting the way. Kay mutters that the facility is far bigger than he expected. Suddenly, he sees Nero hovering near a huge metal door and realizes the cat has found something important. The silence ends as a thunderous metallic step echoes through the corridor. Kay freezes when a giant metal leg slams down in front of them. They look up to see a towering, rusted automaton staring down at them. Gale, completely thrown off, comments that it does not resemble the biological creatures they usually fight. Without warning, the robot activates a scanning beam, sweeping a panel of light across Ellie Cyan. The machine processes her data and displays a hex code representing her bright blue color. The scanner then moves to Gale and registers his green code. Finally, the beam reaches Kay, who nervously realizes the machine is identifying their colors. The scan completes and displays the hex code for absolute pitch black. The robot's eye brightens. It announces it has detected the color of the Black Witch, labels Kay as a threat, and declares that elimination will begin. Before Kay can react or question the title, the machine drives a devastating punch into him. He crashes backward, groaning in pain, but managing to block the hit enough to avoid severe injury. Furious, Kay glares up at the automaton and shouts in frustration. He yells back at the machine, saying they will not hold anything back. The giant raises its enormous fist, ready to crush them. Kay charges in, smashing his fist against the machine's arm. Pain shoots through him as he recoils, astonished at how tough its armor is. As the robot prepares another massive punch, Ellie darts forward, striking with her rapier, but sparks burst from the contact. She stares in disbelief, realizing she could not even leave a scratch. Panic rises as she wonders whether her powers simply do not work against machines. Meanwhile, Kay studies the automaton and spots a glowing core in its chest. There is liquid swirling inside, and he quickly identifies it as the weak point. He lunges forward, launching a sharp left hook, but the robot unexpectedly reacts with incredible speed, swinging its arm like a club. Kay barely dodges the impact. Frustrated that none of his normal attacks work, he backs off, thinking hard. Then he remembers the moment his body had been wrapped in black energy. Deciding to use that power, he avoids a full transformation, knowing it consumes too much color, and instead channels everything into his right fist, coating it with a dense layer of black aura. Once ready, Kay leaps into the air and swings with full force. His punch lands directly on the core, tearing straight through the robot's chest and shattering it. The upper half of the machine explodes into pieces. Its head launches into the air, and the light in its eye fades. Kay lands among the debris and exhales in relief, while Gale and Ellie stand in stunned silence. Among the wreckage, Kay notices a round object and picks up the robot's core, thinking Mari would appreciate it as a gift. Suddenly Gale bursts out, demanding to know what kind of power Kay just used. He and Ellie corner him, firing off questions. Nervously, Kay brushes them off by saying the technique drains his color too much. Before they can press further, the giant metal door behind them begins to open, revealing a pitch-black void. Nero suddenly shoots out of the darkness, screeching in panic. The cat trembles near Kay, clearly terrified. Kay looks toward the dark opening and senses something strange. Ignoring Nero's warning, he steps closer, admitting that he cannot see anything at all inside. When his fingertips touch the surface, the blackness ripples like water. Without warning, the darkness bursts outward. Enormous shadowy tendrils lash out from the doorway, wrapping around the group. Gale and Ellie scream as they are pulled toward the entrance. Unable to resist, all three are dragged into the darkness. They tumble through an endless void before hitting the ground in a pitch-black realm. Gale groans, complaining about the fall and the darkness surrounding them. As he checks himself, he suddenly freezes. He tugs at his jacket in shock, realizing his green color, the core of his abilities, has vanished completely. His body is now entirely black and white. Kay and Ellie stand beside him, equally horrified. Everything around them, including themselves, has lost all color. If you're excited for the next part, leave a comment and I'll do my best to bring it to you as soon as possible.